Right, I'm going to begin, Edward, just by saying, of course, there's 20 books in the Jack Reacher series. I was wondering, what was it about this particular story that inspired you as a storyteller?
Well, I think, he always finds himself in a different situation. In this particular situation, the idea that he is a man who wants to keep himself back emotionally from the world and finds that harder given the sort of particular relationships that he encounters.
Because, he's really sort of humanised his imperfections are explored. This idea even of having a sort of illegitimate daughter that he wasn't aware of is a kind of flaw on his part. How much has that kind of helped to create a well-rounded character that the audience can invest in?
Well, I think these iconic heroes often exist in two dimensions. It's always my instinct to try to add a certain amount of complexity or nuance to these characters. In this case, it's a very opportune way to do it.
And there's something very sort of personal about it. So often we see kind of big action thrillers of this nature where they're trying to save the world. There's this deadly virus that's going to wipe out half the planet, sort of thing. But this is almost about as much about their reputations and their careers as well. Is that something that you think is very important in helping establish that connection?
Yeah, I like the fact that the scale is down in all ways, that the authenticity is true also in the action and in the stakes as you described them, and even in the relationships. I think it becomes of a piece.
And what are the sort of challenges in joining a pre-existing franchise like this? I guess you want to remain faithful to the kind of what made the last one so popular, but at the same time kind of put your own stamp on proceedings, be unique in your own right.
Well, what you said, you don't want to repeat yourself because that would be boring. On the other hand, you owe a certain amount of fealty to what had been done before, and you want to at least have it and then move it a certain direction.
And do you think that the character of Jack Reacher could be like James Bond, for instance, someone that could be going on for a number of years beyond kind of Tom Cruise and actually have a sort of variety of actors play this role?
Well, that's interesting. There is the possibility of anthologizing it, because each time it's a different circumstance, there are different characters, there are different locales. And I think Lee has given a wealth of material in these different ones that he's written. So yes, I think that's possible. And
is this a character you sort of personally would like to revisit yourself one day, or do you almost feel like this is one you sort of ticked off now and you sort of move on to the next?
I'm so bad at thinking about the future. I'm nowhere near that point yet.
And just in regards to, I love the sort of, there's almost a lack of sort of CGI. It didn't seem a really CGI heavy movie. It feels more like kind of face-to-face combat, which is so much more sort of quite rare in the current blockbuster, but much more kind of endearingly traditional. Was that sort of a deliberate?
That was deliberate, yeah. We were hearkening back almost consciously to some of those 1970s movies. There was no CG in the fighting. There isn't wire work. It isn't. It doesn't deny the laws of physics. It just is brutal and felt, and I think gives a certain sense of reality to the whole part that then spills over into the rest of the movie.
Tom Cruise is just a sort of remarkable action hero. It must make your job so much easier when you can rely on him at a very minimum to do his job.
He will definitely do his job. He's enormously well prepared and wants to be safe at the same time. So that, yes, you're right, that's a real virtue.
And he's sort of renowned for being incredibly professional, but is he someone that still is very kind of accessible and very kind of funny on set?
Yeah, he's joyous. Look, he's had this life for a long time. He feels exceedingly grateful for it. On the other hand, he demands a level of professionalism from everyone, including himself. So it's both. It exists at the same time.
You must have been thrilled to have Cobie on board as well. I've literally just met her, and she's such an easygoing, very funny and very intelligent person.
She is gracious and that kind of very like film royalty, that she is grateful to be there and is nothing but a delight. At the same time, she's working her butt off.
The two of them have a great chemistry. Did you have to audition them together to sort of know that?
Yeah, I always do that. I really want to feel two people in the room, because sometimes they could be very talented but seem to be in different movies.
And I was just wondering, what would you say is the biggest sort of challenge you had to overcome in the making of this movie?
Trying to balance the action with the personal stakes. That's always a challenge in any movie, but particularly in a genre film, I think. And
I was just wondering what's sort of next up for you. Have you got any projects in the pipeline?
I'm so bad at that. I'm working on certain things and I'm writing, but I just hope that it turns out.
So just my final question, just wondering if there was any, it was sort of going back a couple of years now, but if there's any hope of resurrecting The American Can with Will Smith. I know that was a project that was
I very
discussed.
much would love to. It's getting increasingly difficult in the studio system to do things of scale that are adult and political and complex, and this requires a lot of resources, and it's not clear that they'll have the faith and the courage to do something like that. We're still trying to see.
So why do you think it's become more difficult of late to make a movie of that nature?
I think the studios abdicated their responsibility. I think they found that it was easier to sell to 12 and 15-year-old boys, and they sort of gave over sort of more ambitious and complex themes to cable television.
Fingers crossed it'll still be made one day.
I do too.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Much appreciated.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey,